Welcome back everyone to your weekly episode of Redstoning with Steve. This is episode 7 and I promised a bit more of a technical episode this time around. So we're going to be going over piston extenders, as you can probably tell by the video title. And as usual, we're going to jump straight into it. Now piston extenders pretty much do what they say on the box. Normally a piston, as such, will push a block one block. So a length of one block. This is a sticky piston, so it will also retract it. Right, but only one block. Now this is a big limitation of pistons. However, with a double piston extender, if we were to theoretically extend these two pistons, this one would extend one block, and then this one would extend another block, enabling us to push this block 2 blocks instead of the regular 1 block. And this is where piston extenders come in. Sometimes you want to be able to push a block 2 blocks rather than 1 block, and I'm just grabbing a lever out here. Now, double piston extenders, the wiring is a little more complicated than normal, I guess I should say, because pistons have the property, if I extend this piston and I power this piston, it will not push it. Because one of the properties of pistons is that a piston will never push an extended piston or retract an extended piston for that matter. So we've got to be really, really careful with our timings in this. So we're going to build on right now. So I've got our 2 pistons here, and we're going to work through this logically as usual. And what do we want to happen first? We want this piston to extend first. So alright, so we'll start off very basically. I've got this, I've got that. That'll extend that piston out. Now next, what we want to happen is for this piston to extend. So, alright, so extend one out there. You may think we have our double piston extender. Not quite, it won't retract. However, I'm going to reset this to normal. You can see that this actually works. It will work, but it won't retract. That's the kind of limitation, because this sticky piston isn't pulling this piston back, because when this is retracting, this is also retracting in the same instant. So we need this one to stay on longer than this one, because we need this one to retract and then this one to retract afterwards. So we're going to put a repeater in here and we'll set it to 4, just for kind of a safety. We'll worry about precise delays afterwards. And the advantage of this is that even though this goes on first, because this is just going to this block and therefore not powering this piston, because you can't power a piston from its head, it is not powering this piston, so we can push this piston out here and then the piston will power 100% of the time. So we'll do this. Very nice. It extended as we wanted it to, and now we're going to turn this off and this is going to retract, and then 4 torches later this will retract. Yep, as we thought. However, we need one extra little additional pulse to pulse this piston again, to pulse once and bring the block back in and reset it to its original starting point. So it's going to extend as normal, and we need something in here to pulse it. Alright, beautiful. But you see, it didn't really work, because this pulse is getting there as this pulse will turn off as this retracts. So we need this to be longer than this, because we want this to retract, but this still to be on. So we're going to change this to 2. We're going to reset it to its start position, and we're going to see this will have no effect, because the signal is going to go from here. Nothing's going to happen with that signal. And then 2 torches later going to here, which will push this out and get extended. 2 torches later, this signal will arrive and power nothing, because it's just the piston arm of this piston, and that has no relevance to anything. So this repeater will not affect the two pistons at all when extending. It only is applicable when the extender is retracting. So we have a look, and you can see it worked just as we wanted it to. So the thing to note about the double extender is the amount of inputs you need in it. You think double extender, two pistons, only two inputs. Not quite the case. You actually need these three inputs. And if you're doing something like even a triple extender, 1, 2, 3, so 3 pistons, you can have the 3 inputs to extend them all, but then you need this piston to retract this piston to retract this piston, and this piston to retract this piston. So I believe you need 2 extra inputs for that. So the more sort of pistons you put in your extended train, the more you need to, the more inputs you need, and it increases exponentially. Excuse me. Now this is the vertical design, and yes, it is more complicated than the horizontal design, and that's because of this little component here. And this is not by any means the compact version, guys, so don't get mad at me. In fact, in any of these videos, don't get mad at me for not showing the compact version of something, because usually the designs I show are kind of to more understand it rather than show the most compact version of anything. So this little thing here, I'm going to go over that, and it's what we call an edge trigger. And we have this and this. As such, hook up our lever and an output. And this, I've found actually quite recently, is the most effective edge trigger design, because it can either be a rising or falling edge trigger. Now what do I mean by this? This is a term used in electronics. It's made itself into redstone. There are 2 edges, I guess, in redstone. Basically, a rising edge is when an input such as a lever is turned from off to on. So it's rising, so the current is rising, I guess. And a falling edge is when the input is turned from on to off, so it's turned off. A rising edge trigger will only activate when the input is turned on. A falling edge trigger will only activate when it is turned off. So you think about that for a second, and I'll show it here. So we've got 2 repeaters, and these are you can vary these very effectively. So what I've got over here is the same orientation. I've got the right one set to more. I'm going to put this one set to more. I'm going to turn it on, and you can see when we turned it on, absolutely nothing happened to this line. Didn't even flicker. But when we turn this off, you can see the redstone went on. Turn the lever on, nothing happens. Turn it off, you can see it activates. However, if we do it the other way, put this to more rather than that one, we can see it activated when we turn the input on, but it does not activate when we turn it off. So we'll go back to the first one. This does not activate when we turn it on, only when we turn it off, so it is a falling edge trigger, because when we turn the input off, it activates, whereas the other one is a rising edge trigger. It will only turn on when the input is turned on. So that's what we have here. Because we've inverted the signal here, and it's fairly necessary to do this, it actually makes the wiring more simple. We have this coming around here to here, that's for the bottom piston, and it splits up to power the top piston when it's extended in this position, and this redstone torch will power the piston here. However, and in fact I'll just turn it on just so I can show you, and you can see nothing happened to this line. However, this has gone round, this is on, this has turned this on. When we retract it, this will turn off first because it has the least delay. So this one will retract. This one will turn off next, retract. And this it's a rising edge trigger. This rising edge trigger, when we turn the input on, it's an inverted double extender in case you didn't realize. When we turn it on, it's only on and only on, so not when we turn the input off, it's not going to activate. When we do this, and it's going to fire the piston once more. But The difference being that this will not be on when this piston is extended, because if that happens, then this piston will not retract. And that's because of, again, the bud switch. There are a lot of bud switch sort of glitches you have to be wary of. In this version, this is permanently on the whole time, because if you power a piston arm horizontally, it won't affect the piston. However, vertically, if you power a piston arm or power a block next to the piston arm, it will act as a bud switch, and I'll actually show you that right now. So I'll turn it on. You can see that's powering this block. It will stay on. And when we knock this out, it will turn off. So that's the kind of issue you have with these vertical double extenders, and this is the compromise. You need something that when you turn it on, it will only send a short pulse out, and that's also what this does. It only sends a short pulse as well. So I should probably actually show you how it works. So we've got extension, and it retracts. And it is a very slow retract, but it's quite easily fixable if you have more repeaters of this side rather than have the repeater that side. This was just for simplicity. So yeah guys, hopefully a nice short one. I hope I didn't go too close to the 10 minutes. I managed to fit some rising edge triggers. I do have I have a good falling edge trigger design and very variable in one of my older videos, which I'll pop up on the screen now. It was used for a minecart system, and I thought I was very inventive back in the day. I thought it was the best inventor ever, and then realized it was just a basic falling edge trigger. But yeah, enough of that. Hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. As usual, world download in the description. Make sure you comment on the video. I'm running out of things to do on my little list, so chuck in your requests of what you want me to feature in the next episode, and apart from that, I will catch you next time.